Hey everyone, welcome to Bible 365. I'm your host, Kathy Carter. I am bringing you 2 Corinthians 10 today. And I'm mostly going to be focusing on how it's not the outward appearance of Paul that is most important, but it is what he is bringing to these churches that really matters. So if you are interested, I want you to stick with me and I'll see you guys in a minute. Hey, welcome to Bible 365. I'm your host, Kathy Carter, and this channel is here to kind of merge Bible living with Bible literacy. So, we are going to be using the New Testament this year in order to understand what it's like to live as a follower of Christ. I have a link below in the description that I have a download that will bring you to a chronological Bible reading of the New Testament. So, what I want you to do is read every day and join me and hopefully some friends as we talk about what it means to live as a kingdom builder. Let's get started. Hey, welcome to Bible 365. I am bringing you 2 Corinthians 10. I can't tell you, I think every time I make a video, I say 1 Corinthians instead of second. So it's so frustrating, but just in case I got it wrong this time, 2 Corinthians 10. And if you were with my video yesterday, then you know that I have poison ivy. So if I itch, it got a little bit worse today. Not horrible, but it's the first time I ever had it. So I'm definitely super itchy. But anyway, coming back to the text, I always encourage to go to the beginning of the letter. So 2 Corinthians 10, I know I said first again sometime, but 2 Corinthians 10, go back to 2 Corinthians 1 and start it because it's a big letter. There's so much stuff in it. So my short version is that Paul and Timothy wrote this letter to the churches, the saints, the believers in Achaia and Corinth, which is why it's titled the way it's titled. And they were suffering. They were going through a lot of stuff, but they want to assure the people that God is still good. And there's so many other things in here, but the overall gist is that God is good. Our suffering has purpose, and it's what's important about our suffering is a couple of things, because suffering for the purpose of the gospel, I think, is what they very intentionally mean here. But if we suffer outside of purpose for the gospel, it can still be used for the gospel. So say you're very ill, that can be used as a tool in some ways, which sounds terrible, but this is a way to show people your love of Christ through those trials and temptations and everything. But a lot of times, like, what they're going through is they were trying to spread the gospel to a bunch of places and like, let people know who Jesus was, because this is the first churches. This was not how we are now. Nobody knew who Jesus was in a lot of the areas he was going to, and so he was spreading the word, but he was getting hit on all sides, by Jewish people and by Gentiles, people who kind of didn't want him there, and they wanted to fight the message that he was sending. So he wanted to let them know, like, God is still so good. And this is working towards your good, and it is working towards our good. And this is a great part of the picture of what God is bringing into our lives, knowing that the end is coming, and this won't be a part of our lives when the gospel has spread and Jesus has come back, and we have created this new heaven. Well, he has, not we, but we are a part of it. This new heaven and new earth, a new home where we will be living. This turmoil won't be there anymore. So, all of that being said, in the last couple of chapters, he was talking to them about their tithing, sort of. I hate using that word. Let me take that out. They're giving to the saints. So they're giving of their finances to the saints. And it really was clearly finances. And he was like, I'm going to kind of collect all of it because, like, we just want to boast in you. We love you guys. And we feel like when you guys are supporting the saints, that you guys love us, right? Because you want to feed us and you want to make sure that the gospel grows in all of these areas. So, and it felt like he kind of like finished at the end of that. But I still think when we come into this next chapter, he still holds on to that same thread, that same ribbon of what he was talking about, like where he is enjoying them. So here we go. Chapter 10, verse 1. Now I, Paul, myself, am pleading with you by the meekness and gentleness of Christ. So he's pleading with them about all the stuff that he had played with him about before. I want you to do all these things. But he's like, make no mistake. I know my words are harsh. If this is your first time ever reading Paul's letter, you might be getting some of the nicer version of Paul. And not that he's terrible or awful. He's loving. He's He's so good in so many ways, bringing people the story of the Lord, wanting people to follow Christ. But he's also harsh, and he's determined, and he wants people to know the actual truth. And when he sees sin, he's calling it out. So he is what many would consider harsh. So if we go to verse 10, it says, "For his letters," they say, "are weighty and powerful." So his letters have meat and depth to them, which we would know if we read them already. He said, "But his bodily presence is weak and his speech contemptible." So in person, because this goes along with what he said before, in person it says, "Who in presence am lowly among you, but when I'm absent, I'm bold toward you." But like when I'm in front of you, and I believe this seems to feel literal. Like he doesn't give an inspiring look when you see him. Like one of the things that we heard about Apollos was he was like amazing in speech and he was great to look at. Like it was one of the things that we saw way back when about Saul, who was the first king in Israel. Same thing, right? Like he was taller than everybody else. He was handsome. And if we're being real, we are drawn to that. We are drawn to charisma and power and height. My son is 6'4", and we're like, dude, you don't even understand how much clout just being tall can give you. Like, and you don't use it. Like, he's definitely not using his height to his advantage. He's not like walking into a room tall. He actually walks into a room relatively meek. So we're like, come on, man. Like, all you have to be is tall. And because there's something that we're drawn to in that type of figure. You know, we look at someone and be like, oh my gosh, you are such a big guy. Like it's something that draws us in. Not always, right? Because some of you are going to be like, no, I hate that. That's gross. But in general, there's a reason that The Rock is ridiculously popular. And what's the other one? Jason Momoa, right? Like these massive, tall, muscular, strong men is something that we are, both men and women, and I don't mean like necessarily physically, but it's something we're attracted to, something we're drawn to. Paul is not those things. Paul is none of those things. It's very windy out here if you can't tell. Paul is none of those things in front of people. But he is those things, like his letters present in that way. And they're like, so what is it? Like, is it, in some ways, like, is it fake? Is it right? And he's like, I don't want to be this big thing in front of you. I don't need to be this big thing in front of you. I'm doing what the Lord is calling me to do. I'm doing the job that the Lord has given to me. And with all that he has given to me, I'm using everything that I have. He said, don't, verse 7, he says, do you look at things according to the outward appearance? So we're not supposed to be judging, even though there's this natural inclination. We're not supposed to be judging based on outward appearance. We're supposed to be judging, like if we take Martin Luther, right? We're supposed to be judging based on the content of their character. What are their hearts like towards the Lord? So for Christians, for those of us who believe and follow Christ, right? When we are listening to someone who's preaching the Lord preaching the word, of Christ, what are their hearts like? What can we know about them? And for most people, not everyone, I don't think, but for most people listening to me, you don't know anything about me except for what I've shared with you. So when you're at church, or when you're in your small groups, or when you're with your accountability partners and friends, like, what is it that you know about those people? Is it just that they're really good talkers? And if it's just that they're really good talkers, it's not enough, because there's going to be a time, right, where you see something else in their character. And what's going to hold your feet to the fire? Just their outward character? We see pastors dropping left and right. And so they need to be strong in their faith and in their belief, right? And in their word. So they need more strength in that than they need in this like outward appearance. And again, it's not about looking good or being handsome or being beautiful or being the smartest person in the room. It's really about the gifts that God has given. And then he says, for we dare not class ourselves or compare ourselves with those who praise themselves. There are people both preaching the word and not preaching the word, right? So we can say in the house of faith and out of the house of faith, they commend themselves. They think they're pretty amazing. Not to, and they behave really humbly, but like they do, they're pretty impressed with themselves. And so they're commending themselves. They're praising themselves to you. I do this amazing job. I should come in and speak these things. I should be the one that leads this group. I should be the one, right? They come in and they commend themselves. That is not at all what Paul has to do. He said, we, however, will not boast beyond measure. He said, they are boasting like beyond what they deserve, beyond measures. Like, you have your measuring instrument and they're like, I'm way better than that. Like 12 inches here. Like I got 2.5, feet of great things about me. So they're going way beyond measure and boasting about themselves. And he's like, we're not doing any of those things. We will not boast beyond measure. We're within the limits of the sphere of which God give us. We're staying in our lane. I feel like that's a better word, but like it kind of feels off. It feels a little bit rude, but like we're just boasting of the Lord. We're not boasting. We're not telling you how great we are and how amazing we are. I'm not coming in there strutting myself in there as I walk in and knowing that everybody's eyes are on me. I come in meek and humble. And I'm saying Paul, I'm not saying literally myself, but Paul's like, I come in meek and I come in humble. I'm not looking all that great. I'm not that exciting. And he said, a sphere which especially includes you guys. So you guys are part of our boasting that we get from the Lord. For we are not overextending ourselves as though authority did not extend to you, because it was to you that we came with the gospel of Christ. So this is now what he's adding in. Okay, we don't boast of ourselves because we're not boasting beyond measure. We don't need to do anything. We are boasting of you guys. This church is following the word of Christ. This church is giving mightily. This church is filled with grace. And he's like, we get to do that. We have the ability to do that. He said, not boasting of things beyond measure, that is other man's labor, but having hope that as your faith is increased, we shall be greatly enlarged by you. So we don't even need to boast because we built this church, right? According to what God gave us. We didn't go and build on anything that anybody else was building. Like we didn't, and part of it is because Paul and Timothy are both preaching to the Gentiles and not to the Jews. So they're like, we're not even building on anybody else's house. We're going into a house that's like completely fresh and that has never heard any of these things before. Like when Paul goes into the Acropolis, I think it's the Acropolis. They have no real foundation. And so he goes in, it's all fresh and it's all new. He's like, you kind of have these weird statues, but let me explain to you what you're really looking for. And so he starts with them completely afresh. But then when their faith starts to increase, he's like, I'm going in there and I'm doing these things. God has opened this door. He's sending me to these places and I'm doing these things because I have great hope that this is going to build on itself. And when it builds on itself, then I get to boast. Not about me. Not that I have done such a great thing, but look at what has been done by the Lord, right? Then he gets his boasting. And so his boasting is in this church. But he said, then after that, because they start growing, then he gets to go out other places and preach to other places. Because this area that was founded sort of afresh, now they know the Lord. Their faith is increasing. I'm going to say tendrils are going out, right? People are starting to hear things. And because of that, he now gets to go into other places and preach the word to other places. He said, but he who glories, let him glory in the Lord. Like, let all of that, every single thing that I see happening and I know it's just a personal thing. I have mentioned a million times that I have a cynical attitude. And a lot of times I will focus too heavy on what the church isn't doing. And by church, I mean maybe a literal building, but maybe I mean a global building. And maybe I mean just the people of Christ, right? Like we worry too much about this and we worry too much about that. And we really need to focus on Christ. But the truth is amazing things have happened. The Lord has brought Bibles everywhere. Before, like if we started this church right here, they had people who had a couple of scrolls, of the Old Testament. Maybe they had these letters that they got to share, right? They had a lot of word of mouth. Maybe somebody was sharing like bits and pieces of the actual gospels, like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Pieces of those, right, were probably getting circulated, but it's not like they had every single person that came to the Lord had their own scroll. And so good things happen. And so we can boast in the Lord about the amazing, glorious things that He is doing. Like Christianity is known almost everywhere in the world. And so we can boast in that, thinking it came from this little teeny tiny area. One man in Israel is where it came from, and it spread all over the world. So he said, but he who glories, let him glory in the Lord. This is what the Lord did with his people. He spread this. This isn't an American thing. It's not a European thing. It is not. This started in a completely different place and spread everywhere. People brought it here from Europe. And they said, for not he who commends himself is approved, but whom the Lord commends. So remember, like when you're boasting on yourself and the accomplishments you have done and the things that you have, if you write in your checklist, a friend of mine just came to me and said, I have this question now, and if anyone wants to comment on the question, I would love to hear. Why do you attend a Bible study? What is your purpose in attending a Bible study? And of course, I'm going to give you the answer now, but I would still love to hear answers. If your reason for attending is solely focused on you and what you're going to do, then it's likely the wrong reason that you're attending, right? Because you're commending in yourself. I'm going so people know that I love the Lord. I'm going so I can tell people who Christ is. And I'm not, that's not necessarily even a bad thing, right? But like our goal is to have the Lord be commended. Our goal is to be in the word of the Lord and be in holy communion with the Lord and holy communion with other people. I go because people really need to hear what I have to say. I go because I want to have friends that think like me. These are all like, in some ways, the wrong reason. These are reasons that are about us, right? Like I'm commending myself. This is about me. And it needs to be about the Lord because the Lord is going to be the one who commends. And this is what we want, right? Like we want the Lord to commend the things that we are doing, to praise the things that we are doing. So that's how I'm ending for today. And again, if you want to answer that question below, I would love that in the comment section. But for now, if you found it to be a blessing, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And until then, I will see you next time.